Oh yeah, welcome to the Intuitive Empire. I'm your host, Jaya Rose, and we can finally get started because you are here. And if you are ready to energetically align with your desires, own your innate magic, and step powerfully into your spiritual leadership, well, love, you're in the right place. Let's do the damn thing already. Please be more selfish. Please take more time for yourself. Please wake up in the morning and think of yourself first and think, how do I want to feel today? And what do I need to do for myself today? And what am I going to do to show up even bigger in the world for my mission? Please do these things. I really, really want you to think about the idea of being selfish and what judgments you have had on this. How have you felt about being called selfish? What if I called you selfish right now? What would you think? How would you feel? And I know personally that I would have thought that that was very rude of you to say that to me. I would think, well, that's not true because I do everything for everyone and I'm a good mother and I'm a good wife. And is that what you're saying? Are you saying I'm not a good mother and wife because you're saying I'm selfish? Right? This is how we were taught. This is the old paradigm of thinking that it's really about martyrdom. If you do everything for everybody else, then and only then are you good enough to maybe do something for yourself every once in a while. Boom. Let's blow this up today because I'm going to tell you to stop not being selfish, please, because I'm actually going to share with you a story that's a little bit funny and awkward to share because I want to do it in a respectful way. But I noticed a couple things. I was at an event this weekend. I was at an amazing event, Show Up Live in Portland, Oregon. I got to speak on stage and do a highest self activation. And it was so good. Oh my gosh, I loved every second of it. The event was amazing, hosted by my friend Maru Ibachella and Rachel O'Rourke. And so many amazing connections happened, and I loved it. And I noticed a trend. And I'm just going to tell you what it is, okay? And if this offends you, if this triggers you, I just want to say you're welcome. I want to say you're welcome because it's coming from my big heart. It's from my big heart to yours that if this triggers you, it is because there is an opportunity to stretch into some more selfishness and to understand what it actually means. So before I tell you the story, let me tell you what selfish actually means, okay? Of a person, action, or motive, lacking consideration for others, concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. Okay, let me read that last part again. Concerned chiefly with one's own personal profit or pleasure. I would just like to ask you this right now. Who else in your life is more concerned about your pleasure than you? Because I have been in a lot of relationships. I know a lot of people. I have a loving husband, 2 daughters, a mother who loves me. My dad has passed, but he loved me. And nobody is more concerned about my pleasure than me. What the actual fuck is going on? That we have grown up in a culture where it is an insult to be called selfish, yet it is the number one thing, habit, ritual, belief to have in place to actually be a successful person in this world. It is insane. So the story is this. I noticed a trend this weekend. A number of the women who were at the event were maybe newer to personal development, newer to spiritual growth. And also a number of women at the event were not taking very good care of themselves. Some of them, said it out loud. I've been putting myself last. And this is a really common theme. And that's why I say, if this triggers you, you're welcome because I love you and this is for you. And if it doesn't trigger you, then give yourself a pat on the back because you've already undone the paradigm that it's not good to be selfish. And what I noticed is that actually, this is what happens. When people don't take the time to create their own pleasure in their life, to know that they are the one who is chiefly responsible for their own pleasure in life, well, what happens is they tend to not actually be able to be there for other people. And this is what I noticed. Now, I am an empath, as y'all know, and a highly sensitive. I've also been a life coach for over 10 years. And so you might guess that people like to talk to me. I'm the kind of person that I go to a party and people will lay out their entire life story. I actually got on a call today with somebody who was helping me with my copy, and I life coached her in the middle of the session and she cried. So this is not shocking to me, okay? This happens all the time. And I noticed a theme where there was one woman in particular who was talking about how she needs to be there for herself and she's not taking care of herself. She went on and on and on and on and on about herself, because it was finally a platform or a situation for her to feel like she could be herself and be in her needs, which we all need and deserve and require on some level to be seen, heard, and understood. But when we don't take the time to see ourselves, to understand ourselves, and to really love ourselves deeply, then we go out into the world and we come from a lack, from a place of deficit. And then when you get into a room of women who will hold the space for you, you fall the fuck apart and feel like, oh my gosh, yes. And maybe you don't even realize it's happening. And you like, oh my God, yay, finally people who get me, who see me. But I want to tell you something. What's happening on the other end of that is that those other women are not having the opportunity to share themselves. Because this other person who doesn't take up enough space in their own life is now all of a sudden taking up all the space in the room. And while when you think of an isolated instance, of course, there's many instances where it's like, okay, that's fine, or this means this, or this means that. I'm talking about an epidemic of women not chiefly taking responsibility for their pleasure in their life and choosing to feel good on a daily basis over anything else first. And then heading into life thinking that they've done their part in the world because they sacrificed, because they gave to other people. What do you mean? What do you mean I'm selfish? I got up and I made my kids breakfast and I gave my husband a blowjob. Okay, no, you probably didn't, but you made a healthy dinner, you put it in the crock pot, you did all the things. Doesn't that make me not selfish? But then you arrive at work and it's an opportunity to step up in some way, or you go into your home office and it's an opportunity to get on Facebook Live and share your message and change somebody's life and be inspiring, but you have no energy because you feel a deficit and you feel a lack, and then you don't show up where it really counts. And so you may say to me, well, Jaya, sure, great, fine. But like I needed to make my kids breakfast and I needed to put that food in the crock pot. And so, yes, I understand that. I 100% understand. I have been a mom since I am 19 years old. I know the deal that, of course, it's important to give to our families. And yet, at the same time, there is so much more room to give to ourselves and to give ourselves permission to have needs and desires and requirements and to show up inside of those and meet them ourselves, because it is our responsibility to do that. And because being selfish is actually the only way to be successful in this world. Because again, like I said, ain't nobody out there considering you over them. You're the only person doing that in your life. There aren't other people in your life, most likely, that are over there just considering you, considering what you need and what your pleasure, what you need to be pleasured. And again, there's isolated instances always, but you know what I'm saying. The truth of the matter is that if you don't prioritize you and your magic and showing up fully for yourself and what you need, even when that might look crazy to someone else, even when that might look selfish, then you are not setting yourself up for the success that you actually desire. And I'm just here to say, hey, stop not being selfish. Stop not being selfish. Start considering your needs first. Be inside of that person that is chiefly responsible for your own pleasure and say what you need and what you desire. Because this is an old paradigm. Even like I said, if this triggers you, does it trigger you to be called selfish? And I have been called selfish so many times by multiple people. I think I've even talked about this on the show. Probably both of my ex-husbands would call me selfish. I know for sure that my 22-year-old daughter, she doesn't do it anymore because she knows that it doesn't hurt me. She knows it doesn't hurt me because I've healed that, but it used to. It used to hurt me because I believed it was bad and because I wanted to do good. I wanted to be a good mommy and I wanted to be a good wifey and I didn't want anybody to think that I was selfish. And ever since I came into this understanding about my sensitivity and about my intuitive gifts and how when I honor my sensitivity, I show up so fucking powerfully, so powerfully. The number one thing that I heard after doing my highest self activation on stage this weekend was, "You are so powerful." That is probably the best compliment I could ever receive. I used to think that being called skinny was a compliment. Boy, have I outgrown that because I'm not really skinny anymore. And powerful. Like, call me powerful, get me juicy. Yes, that's what makes me feel good about myself because that means that I show up for myself because there is no power without fire. There is no fire without tender, without the coal, without illuminating and doing the work to stoke that fire. And in order to stoke this fire, I know what that requires. It requires creating a life that's around my pleasure. My entire life is around what do I need to thrive? What do I need to show up to be more powerful, more energized, more aligned? And does that mean I'm selfish? Well, by the definition, 100%. And so as I've shifted this belief that it's a negative thing and I've turned it into a positive thing, like I'm telling you right now, the name of this episode, it's something to the effect of stop not being selfish. Because otherwise, and I'm not trying to be rude here, but it turns us into the needy bitch. Like the days when I was not prioritizing myself as much as I do now, I was needy. I was literally needy, needy with friends, needy with clients, needy with boyfriends, husbands. I was needy because I wasn't giving to myself on the deepest level. And so this is the craziest thing. This is the craziest thing about this old paradigm. It truly has expired. The idea that it's better and like in some way you deserve a pat on the back for giving every ounce of energy and time or money to other people is so freaking crazy because this is the question. And literally, this is the only question that matters. Does it allow you to show up more, better, more powerfully, in alignment, in service, in your purpose, in what you're here to do, to change other people's lives, to be the conduit of change for people and inspiration? Because I know the answer, no, that doesn't. So what a powerful thing, right? I got this. It came through so clearly. And instead of just being annoyed that someone was just sort of like talking about themselves incessantly, I chose to look at it in a different way. And I thought, well, like, why is this happening? In one breath, she's talking about how she's not there for herself enough. In the other breath, she's indulging herself, taking up all the space in the room and not being there for anybody else. And so it was just so clear to me. if we want to really, really be there for other people, really be there for our mission, well, the best thing we could do is be selfish and really not consider other people. And again, like I said, we want to consider other people, but not instead of ourselves. So when I wake up in the morning, I really think about, how do I want to feel today? I don't think, well, what do I have to do for my day so that I can get X, Y, and Z done and show up for the things that I committed to and for all the people who I have responsibility with? Do I think those things also? Yes, maybe in the form of a list or understanding, technically what I'm going to do or focus on today. And it's about what you do first. It's about what you do first. If you're going to show up for everybody else, then show up for yourself first. And that may just mean creating an intention. It may mean doing a meditation. What I like to do is I do a 15 or 20-minute yoga video and then a 10 or 15-minute Kundalini video. And that's 30 minutes. And if I do that, I can go to the event the whole day and be pretty awesome. I'm pretty tired by the end of it. But it's about understanding your energy levels and doing what I call the 30% rule for highly sensitives. Understanding that your energy, if you know what 100% looks like, and there's a deficit created for everything you do that expends energy, and then a positive created for everything you do that creates energy, then you can actually decide your life around this. And this is what I do. I know how much it's going to cost me to go to that event. Literally going to an event all day would cost me 150%. Do you know what that means? At the end of the day, I'm going to be a wreck. Like, eyes rolling back in my head. Don't talk to me. I'm starving. I feel thirsty, but I've drank enough water. I'm just like a mess. And so what I've decided is that I cannot go to a full day event. Like a 9 to 5 event is so not for me. Cannot do it. I don't do it. I never do it anymore. So even when I'm speaking, like I spoke at this event and I got there at 11. The next day I got there at 12:30. And this might seem so rude, right? Like this would be like, what? You can't do that. You have to go on time. What if everybody went late? Well, I don't know. If everybody went late, maybe the organizers of the event would start their event next time at 10 o'clock. If it was at 10 o'clock, I'd probably try and make it on time. But because it's not at 10 o'clock, it's like check in at 8 o'clock. I just go when I want to go because it's going to use up 150% of my energy for the day if I go do the whole thing. Where am I going to get that extra 50%? And what I do is I teach a 30% rule, which means you are only allowed to spend 70% of your energy. Because as a highly sensitive, what happens is when you get down past that 30%, down in those lower regions, oh, honey, it is hard to recover. It is hard to recover. And that recovery phase can knock you out and take you out like nobody's business and unlike other people. And you start to compare yourself and think, well, what's wrong with me? Well, there's nothing wrong with you. What you did was you made a bad choice, a choice that didn't serve you at your highest level, and you spent all your energy. Stop spending your energy, right? Don't spend your energy on things that are not a renewable resource. Understand that you're spending the energy and prepare for it and be ready to spend, just like money, right? So this is how I run my entire life now, where I understand how much something costs me. And then I decide what I need to do to be able to pay that much. And for me, events, I only go to half of them. So if I were to host a live event, it would be from 10 to 4. 10 to 4. And that is technically only 2 hours less than what someone else would do. But I also do a 2-hour lunch. And I also do things that create movement inside of it. Like I would set it up for me so that I can thrive. But somebody else is setting up the event for them. Maybe they're thinking about thriving, or maybe they're not. I don't know. But they're setting it up because it works for them. That doesn't work for me. Should I pretend like it works for me? And then when I get on stage at 5 p.m., and I want to tell you something, I'm like an old man. And I say old man because my grandpa Bernie, he ate dinner at 5 p.m. every single night. And if you would ask him at 4:45 if he was hungry, he would say no. But then at 5 o'clock, he would be starving. And it's literally, that's me. And so to get on stage in front of 100 people and do a highest self activation at 5 p.m. is so not in my routine. Normally I'd be home starving. and so I have to plan for that. I have to know what it takes. And so I went backstage and didn't listen to the talk before me, and I did legs up the wall. And this is what I'm talking about not getting past that 30%. So if I just pretended like I'm everybody else, and like the event coordinators, the way they set it up is perfectly aligned with what I need and require to thrive, then I would be lying to myself, and it would not be good for anybody, because I wouldn't show up on stage feeling magnetic and in flow and be able to get outside of my own head and inside of my heart and allow the channeling and the connection with universal flow to come through so that I could deliver a powerful performance and message. I know what I require to be able to do that. And I require being damn near 100%. I would say between 80 and 100%, because below that is just not good enough. That's just not good enough. And so I'm thinking about this beforehand, right? And this is what I mean. It's a whole different way of being. And again, would someone think that was selfish? Yes, because I am pursuing my own personal pleasure over anybody else's. But guess what? When I get on stage, I am contributing and I am serving at my highest level. So on the flip side of selfish is service. Now, if you're selfish for the sake of being selfish because you don't give a shit about anybody else, it's like an entirely different conversation. But selfish in the pursuit of service is what we need to do, especially if you're highly sensitive, because nobody else can understand the intricacies of your needs. Nobody else, including the event coordinators or probably even people in your family, maybe your spouse, really cannot understand the intricacies of your needs. You got to do it. You got to do it. So I hope this really touched you in some way. I would love to know. Let me know on social media. Head over to Instagram, find me at the Jaya Rose, tag me on your stories. I will share you out in my story. I love connecting with you. I want to know, did this trigger you? Honestly, tell me, write me, be like, Jaya, this triggered me. It triggered me because it's me. But these are small shifts. We don't change these things overnight and all of a sudden now you're just somebody who is always above the 30% and you're up in the 70s and 80s%. If you're normally, depleting your energy, and this is going to be a whole new conversation, well, you got to take it like you need to learn a new language. You need to have a new conversation. You need to learn a new language, and that doesn't happen overnight. So I want you to be nice. I want you to be kind to yourself. And I want you to reach out to me if you need help with this. If you're somebody who has big service on your heart and you know that you're meant for more, because this is exactly what my EMBODY program teaches. The first module is sacred self-care. Honey, we get this out of the way early from the start. This is the foundation of everything, because as we move up the energetic system, we get to then move our vision into the world in a really powerful way, but not without doing the ground level work. And so if you know that inner game is what you're here to master next, emotional mastery, physical mastery, spiritual alignment, so that you can serve on your higher level, then reach out to me and I'll chat with you about EMBODY. The doors aren't open quite yet, but I just wanted to throw this special invitation out. I am going to be offering a bonus this next round with a one-on-one session included with me, which is crazy. I've never done this before, but I just decided it right in this very moment because I'm so inspired about this topic. And if that feels like that could be transformational for you, which I will tell you it will be, then reach out to me. I'll put it some contact info in the show notes, or just send me a DM on Instagram. All right. So much love to you. Be selfish. Stop not being selfish. Be more selfish so that you can be in more service, because we need you. We need you. We need your gifts. We need your magic. We need your brilliance. We need you to be fully aligned with the possibility of your highest self and in the powerful, powerful version of yourself. All right. That's what I want. Anyway, that's my message for today. So much love to you. And I'll see you next time on the Intuitive Empire podcast.